Before we begin, if you're finding peace through these sessions, we'd love for you to take a moment, when you're awake, of course, to leave a review and subscribe on whatever channel you're listening on. Your support helps others discover this space and join our journey to restful sleep. Welcome to Slothful Slumber, the podcast where we transform the vast knowledge of the internet into a gentle lullaby for your mind. I'm your host, Luna Dreamwell, and I'm here to guide you on a journey to tranquility through the soothing cadence of Wikipedia articles. Each episode will delve into the most wonderfully mundane and sleep-inducing topics, helping you drift off into a realm of serene dreams. So find your comfortable space, close your eyes, and let the dull hum of information carry you into a restful slumber. This Wikipedia article is titled Solstice. A solstice is the time when the sun reaches its most northerly or southerly excursion relative to the celestial equator on the celestial sphere. 2 solstices occur annually, around 20 to the 22nd of June and 20 to the 22nd of December. In many countries, the seasons of the year are defined by reference to the solstices and the equinoxes. The term solstice can also be used in a broader sense as the day when this occurs. For locations not too close to the equator or the poles, the dates with the longest and shortest periods of daylight are the summer and winter solstices, respectively. Terms with no ambiguity as to which hemisphere is the context are June solstice and December solstice, referring to the months in which they take place every year. Etymology. The word solstice is derived from the Latin sol, sun, and sistere, to stand still, because at the solstices, the sun's declination appears to stand still, that is, the seasonal movement of the sun's daily path, as seen from Earth, pauses at a northern or southern limit before reversing direction. Solstice first entered into English in the Middle English period. An older term in English is its calque sunstead, Old English, sunstate, which became rare after the 17th century. Sunstead is cognate with other terms with the same meaning in other Germanic language, such as Old Norse, Solstader, and Middle High German, Sonnenstadt. A similar English calque of the Latin term is sunstay, which was first used in the 16th century and is now also rare. Definitions and frames of reference. For an observer at the North Pole, the sun reaches the highest position in the sky once a year in June. The day this occurs is called the June solstice day. Similarly, for an observer on the South Pole, the sun reaches the highest position on the December solstice day. When it is the summer solstice at one pole, it is the winter solstice on the other. The sun's westerly motion never ceases as Earth is continually in rotation. However, the sun's motion in declination, that is, vertically, comes to a stop before reversing at the moment of solstice. In that sense, solstice means sun standing. This modern scientific word descends from a Latin scientific word in use in the late Roman Republic of the 1st century BC, solstitium. Pliny uses it a number of times in his natural history with a similar meaning that it has today. It contains two Latin language morphemes, sol, sun, and stitium, stoppage. The Romans used standing to refer to a component of the relative velocity of the sun as it is observed in the sky. Relative velocity is the motion of an object from the point of view of an observer in a frame of reference. From a fixed position on the ground, the sun appears to orbit around Earth. To an observer in an inertial frame of reference, planet Earth is seen to rotate about an axis and orbit around the sun in an elliptical path with the sun at one focus. Earth's axis is tilted with respect to the plane of Earth's orbit, and this axis maintains a position that changes little with respect to the background of stars. An observer on Earth therefore sees a solar path that is the result of both rotation and revolution. The component of the sun's motion seen by an earthbound observer caused by the revolution of the tilted axis, which, keeping the same angle in space, is oriented toward or away from the sun, is an observed daily increment and lateral offset of the elevation of the sun at noon for approximately 6 months, and observed daily decrement for the remaining 6 months. At maximum or minimum elevation, the relative yearly motion of the sun, perpendicular to the horizon, stops and reverses direction. Outside of the tropics, the maximum elevation occurs at the summer solstice and the minimum at the winter solstice. The path of the sun, or ecliptic, sweeps north and south between the northern and southern hemispheres. The lengths of time when the sun is up are longer around the summer solstice and shorter around the winter solstice, except near the equator. When the sun's path crosses the equator, the length of the nights at latitudes plus L degree and minus L degree are of equal length. This is known as an equinox. There are 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes in a tropical year. Because of the variation in the rate at which the sun's right ascension changes, the days of longest and shortest daylight do not coincide with the solstices for locations very close to the equator. Inside the Arctic or Antarctic circles, the sun is up all the time for days or even months. Relationship to seasons. The seasons occur because the Earth's axis of rotation is not perpendicular to its orbital plane, the plane of the ecliptic, but currently makes an angle of about 23.44 degrees, called the obliquity of the ecliptic, and because the axis keeps its orientation with respect to an inertial frame of reference. As a consequence, for half the year, the northern hemisphere is inclined toward the sun, while for the other half year, the southern hemisphere has this distinction. The 2 moments when the inclination of Earth's rotational axis has maximum effect are the solstices. At the June solstice, the subsolar point is further north than any other time, at latitude 23.44 degrees north, known as the Tropic of Cancer. Similarly, at the December solstice, the subsolar point is further south than any other time, at latitude 23.44 degrees south, known as the Tropic of Capricorn. The subsolar point will cross every latitude between these 2 extremes exactly twice per year, Also, during the June solstice, places on the Arctic Circle, latitude 66.56 north, will see the sun just on the horizon during midnight, and all places north of it will see the sun above horizon for 24 hours. That is the midnight sun, or midsummer night sun, or polar day. On the other hand, places on the Antarctic Circle, latitude 66.56 south, will see the sun just on the horizon during midday, and all places south of it will not see the sun above horizon at any time of the day. That is the polar night. During the December solstice, the effects on both hemispheres are just the opposite. This sees polar sea ice regrow annually due to lack of sunlight on the air above and surrounding sea. The warmest and coldest periods of the year in temperate regions are offset by about 1 month from the solstices, delayed by the Earth's thermal inertia. Cultural aspects. Ancient Greek names and concepts. The concept of the solstices was embedded in ancient Greek celestial navigation. As soon as they discovered that the Earth was spherical, they devised the concept of the celestial sphere, an imaginary spherical surface rotating with the heavenly bodies, oranioi, fixed in it. The modern one does not rotate, but the stars in it do. As long as no assumptions are made concerning the distances of those bodies from Earth or from each other, the sphere can be accepted as real and is, in fact, still in use. The ancient Greeks used the term iliostasio, meaning stand of the sun. The stars move across the inner surface of the celestial sphere along the circumferences of circles in parallel planes perpendicular to the Earth's axis, extended indefinitely into the heavens and intersecting the celestial sphere in a celestial pole. The sun and the planets do not move in these parallel paths, but along another circle, the ecliptic, whose plane is at an angle, the obliquity of the ecliptic, to the axis, bringing the sun and planets across the paths of and in among the stars. Cleomedes states, "The band of the zodiac, zodiacos kuklos, zodiacal circle, is at an oblique angle, loxos, because it is positioned between the tropical circles and equinoctial circle, touching each of the tropical circles at one point. This zodiac has a determinable width, set at 8 degrees today. That is why it is described by 3 circles. The central one is called heliacol, heliakos, of the sun. The term heliacal circle is used for the ecliptic, which is in the center of the zodiacal circle, conceived as a band including the noted constellations named on mythical themes. Other authors used zodiac to mean ecliptic, which first appears in a gloss of unknown author in a passage of Cleomedes, where he is explaining that the moon is in the zodiacal circle as well, and periodically crosses the path of the sun. As some of these crossings represent eclipses of the moon, the path of the sun is given a synonym, the ekleiptikos kuklos, from ekleipsis, eclipse. English names. The 2 solstices can be distinguished by different pairs of names, depending on which feature one wants to stress. Summer solstice and winter solstice are the most common names, referring to the seasons they are associated with. However, these can be ambiguous since the Northern Hemisphere's summer is the Southern Hemisphere's winter and vice versa. The Latinate names estival solstice, summer, and hibernal solstice, winter, are sometimes used to the same effect, as are midsummer and midwinter. June solstice and December solstice refer to the months of year in which they take place, with no ambiguity as to which hemisphere is the context. They are still not universal, however, as not all cultures use a solar-based calendar where the solstices occur every year in the same month, as they do not in the Islamic calendar and Hebrew calendar, for example. Northern solstice and southern solstice indicate the hemisphere of the sun's location. The northern solstice is in June, when the sun is directly over the Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere, and the southern solstice is in December, when the sun is directly over the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere. These terms can be used unambiguously for other planets. First point of Cancer and first point of Capricorn refer to the astrological signs that the sun is entering. Due to the precession of the equinoxes, the constellations the sun appears in at solstices are currently Taurus in June and Sagittarius in December. Solstice terms in East Asia. The traditional East Asian calendars divide a year into 24 solar terms: Xiaji, Pinyin, or Geshi, Romaji, Chinese and Japanese, Xia, Ji, Korean, Haji, Vietnamese, Ha Chi, Lit. Summer's extreme is the 10th solar term and marks the summer solstice. It begins when the sun reaches the celestial longitude of 90 degrees around the 21st of June and ends when the sun reaches the longitude of 105 degrees around the 7th of July. Xiaji more often refers in particular to the day when the sun is exactly at the celestial longitude of 90 degrees. Dongji, Pinyin, or Toji, Romaji, Korean, Dongji, Vietnamese, Dongchi, Lit. Winter's extreme is the 22nd solar term and marks the winter solstice. It begins when the sun reaches the celestial longitude of 270 degrees around the 23rd of December and ends when the sun reaches the longitude of 285 degrees around the 5th of January. Dongji more often refers in particular to the day when the sun is exactly at the celestial longitude of 270 degrees. The solstices, as well as the equinoxes, mark the middle of the seasons in East Asian calendars. Here, the Chinese character Zi means extreme, so the terms for the solstices directly signify the summits of summer and winter. Solstice celebrations. The term solstice can also be used in a wider sense, as the date that such a passage happens. The solstices, together with the equinoxes, are connected with the seasons. In some languages, they are considered to start or separate the seasons. In others, they are considered to be center points. In England, in the Northern Hemisphere, for example, the period around the northern solstice is known as midsummer. Midsummer's Day, defined as St. John's Day by the Christian Church, is the 24th of June, about 3 days after the solstice itself. Similarly, the 25th of December is the start of the Christmas celebration and is the day the sun begins to return to the northern hemisphere. The traditional British and Irish main rent and meeting days of the year, the usual quarter days, were often those of the solstices and equinoxes. Many cultures celebrate various combinations of the winter and summer solstices, the equinoxes, and the midpoints between them, leading to various holidays arising around these events. During the southern or winter solstice, Christmas is the most widespread contemporary holiday, while Yalda, Saturnalia, Karachun, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Yule are also celebrated around this time. In East Asian cultures, the Dongji festival is celebrated on the winter solstice. For the northern or summer solstice, Christian cultures celebrate the feast of St. John from 23 to the 24th of June, while modern pagans observe midsummer, known as Litha among Wiccans. For the vernal equinox, several springtime festivals are celebrated, such as the Persian Nowruz, the observance in Judaism of Passover, the rites of Easter in most Christian churches, as well as the Wiccan Ostara. The autumnal equinox is associated with the Jewish holiday of Sukkot and the Wiccan Mabon. In the southern tip of South America, the Mapuche people celebrate Huitzilopochtli, the New Year, a few days after the northern solstice, on the 24th of June. Further north, the Atacama people formerly celebrated this date with a noise festival to call the sun back. Further east, the Aymara people celebrate their new year on the 21st of June. A celebration occurs at sunrise, when the sun shines directly through the gate of the sun in Tiwanaku. Other Aymara New Year feasts occur throughout Bolivia, including at the site of El Fuerte de Samaipata. In the Hindu calendar, 2 sidereal solstices are named Makara Sankranti, which marks the start of Uttarayana, and Karka Sankranti, which marks the start of Dakshinayana. The former occurs around the 14th of January each year, while the latter occurs around the 14th of July each year. These mark the movement of the sun along a sidereally fixed zodiac into Makara, the zodiacal sign which corresponds with Capricorn, and into Karka, the zodiacal sign which corresponds with Cancer, respectively. The Amundsen Scott South Pole Station celebrates every year on the 21st of June a midwinter party to celebrate that the sun is at its lowest point and coming back. The Fremont Solstice Parade takes place every summer solstice in Fremont, Seattle, Washington in the United States. The reconstructed Cahokia Woodhenge, a large timber circle located at the Mississippian Culture Cahokia Archaeological Site near Collinsville, Illinois, is the site of annual equinox and solstice sunrise observances. Out of respect for Native American beliefs, these events do not feature ceremonies or rituals of any kind. Solstice determination. Unlike the equinox, the solstice time is not easy to determine. The changes in solar declination become smaller as the sun gets closer to its minimum declination. The days before and after the solstice, the declination speed is less than 30 arc-seconds per day, which is less than 1/60th of the angular size of the sun, or the equivalent to just 2 seconds of right ascension. This difference is hardly detectable with indirect viewing-based devices like sextant equipped with a vernier. and impossible with more traditional tools like gnomon or astrolabe. It is also hard to detect the changes in sunrise-sunset azimuth due to the atmospheric refraction changes. Those accuracy issues render it impossible to determine the solstice day based on observations made within the 3 or even 5 days surrounding the solstice without the use of more complex tools. Accounts do not survive, but Greek astronomers must have used an approximation method based on interpolation, which is still used by some amateurs. This method consists of recording the declination angle at noon during some days before and after the solstice, trying to find 2 separate days with the same declination. When those 2 days are found, the halfway time between both noons is estimated solstice time. An interval of 45 days has been postulated as the best one to achieve up to a quarter-day precision in the solstice determination. Astronomical almanacs define the solstices as the moments when the sun passes through the solstitial collier. That is the times when the apparent geocentric celestial longitude of the sun is equal to 90 degrees, June solstice, or 270 degrees, December solstice. The dates of the solstice varies each year and may occur a day earlier or later depending on the time zone. Because the Earth's orbit takes slightly longer than a calendar year of 365 days, the solstices occur slightly later each calendar year until a leap day realigns the calendar with the orbit. Thus, the solstices always occur between 20 and the 22nd of June and between 20 and the 23rd of December in a 4-year-long cycle, with the 21st and 22nd being the most common dates. In the constellations, using the current official IAU constellation boundaries, and taking into account the variable precession speed and the rotation of the ecliptic, the solstices shift through the constellations as follows. The northern solstice passed from Leo into Cancer in year -1458, passed into Gemini in year -10, passed into Taurus in December 1989, and is expected to pass into Aries in year 4609. The southern solstice passed from Capricornus into Sagittarius in year -130, is expected to pass into Ophiuchus in year 2269, and is expected to pass into Scorpius in year 3597.